Alright everybody, welcome to the live stream. This is going to be my first live stream where I actually tried with the video settings. It is August 6th around noon, so everyone's probably on their lunch break unless you're like on the other side of the planet, but welcome anyways. Today we've got a few topics I want to talk about. The number one topic being scooter brakes. I want to talk about different types of scooter brakes, what makes a good brake and a bad brake, and if anyone's tried different types of brakes. I really want to hear what kind of upgrades you guys have done for your brakes. I said brakes like 20 times so far. I'm going to cut that out. But you guys maybe seen my video that I did on the eMove Cruiser version 2. And I just can't stop thinking about the brakes on that thing. I had the same brakes on the eMove Cruiser version 1, and they needed some adjusting, but they were generally fine. Occasionally they would scrape and I just like kind of hammer on them with my hand and noise would go away. But with the version 2, I have officially worked on that thing for like an hour and I can't figure out how to get it. Oh, he says it's kind of hard to hear you. I can't figure out how to get the brakes on the version 2 to work. Is this any better? Jason McClavy? Can everybody hear me? I should probably check. I've adjusted the settings all the way there and back on every single component in the stream. Lee PEV says you sound fine. Alright, let me know if I'm too loud because I am kind of clipping on the audio channels, but I don't know. Anyway, brakes. So, there are lots of different types of brakes, but the brakes that are on the eMove Cruiser version 2 are semi-hydraulic brakes, and that means that from the brake lever down to the caliper is an actual mechanical brake. There's a cable that runs down there, and then the cable pulls a little cylinder inside the caliper, and there's actual hydraulic oil in there that will actuate the piston. And I went like this. That means there's two pistons, but in the version 2 there's really one working piston that kind of goes like this against the other one. It's not great, but it works. Then you have the dual piston brakes that actually do push from both sides. And then we have full hydraulic brakes, which it's got hydraulic fluid all the way from the brake lever down through the scooter and then into the caliper, and the caliper's full of hydraulic fluid. Those work pretty well, and they're pretty grippy. But after my eMove Cruiser review video, I just kept digging into brakes as far as I could, and I've discovered quad piston brakes now, and I've been researching all different kinds, and apparently Mogura is like the best hydraulic brake you can get for reasons that very few people can explain, but I think it has a lot to do with just like clout and reputation. They look cool too, like the levers and everything looks really cool. But those are full hydraulic quad piston brakes, and they're very lightweight. There's different brands. There's all sorts of different brands, and a lot of them are very same on specs, including a few that I found that are really similar to Mogura brakes. But there's like Hope Tech is another good brand. They make rotors too. And that's actually another thing I discovered that can really impact your stopping power. And not just the stopping power. Like, you can skid the tires with fully mechanical, just regular brakes, not even semi-hydraulic, but it has a lot to do with the modulation of the brake lever and how easy it is to pull versus how much stopping power you get. So with nicer brakes, you can just kind of fluidly pull them gently and it will really give you intense stopping power, and you can modulate the stopping power all the way through from none to tires locked, where mechanical brakes like the ones on the Cruiser V2, you have like no stopping power, and then you start to feel it, and then the tire locks up. And that's just, you kind of got to deal with it and get used to it. But I really like the hydraulic brakes that have thicker rotors. There's like 3 different types of commonly used rotors on scooters. There's obviously the millimeter. There's 145 millimeter on scooters like the, I think the old Mantis uses that, and a bunch of the lower end scooters. And then there's 160 millimeter rotors, which are pretty run-of-the-mill. And then there's thicker 160 millimeter rotors. Normal thickness is 1.8 millimeters, or a little bit lower maybe. And the ones on the Wolf King GTR and the InMotion RS I measured today with my little caliper thingy. They're almost 3 millimeters. They're like 2.8. And those are the scooters with the best stopping power, and I don't think that's a coincidence. So thicker rotors, they don't heat up as fast, and you get more stopping power. But where was I going with this? Yeah, those are just the different types of brakes and things that help brakes actuate. So if you have full hydraulic quad piston brakes with thick rotors, and maybe you can go up to 180 millimeter rotors, which I've seen on like the Fideco Lightspeed Night. And then if you have an e-bike like a Talaria or a Suron, you can have 203 millimeter rotors. That's the biggest I've seen on e-bikes and such. But I've been researching the actual piss out of rotors and brakes and all different types of technology they have in the brakes. Like, I think last night when I was researching, I had like 60 tabs open on my computer, and I was using 40 gigs of my 96 gigs of RAM just with open tabs. And I think I'm going to try and have some brakes that are made for bikes, custom made to fit scooters. And basically that just means having the factory modify the length of the brake cable to actually fit an e-scooter, because the distance from the caliper to the handlebar is a lot shorter on a bike, which is what a bunch of these brakes are made for. And scooters, you have to go all the way down the stem and all the way to the back, and it adds like an extra, I don't know, 60 centimeters or so. But I'm going to try my best to get some brakes made and have them sent to me under the guise that I've been telling these companies, yeah, I'm a really big factory. We have a lot of scooters we want to do, and we really want to look forward to working with your company, but we just need one sample first so we can test. And I think if they do work well enough, I'll sell them on pevoutlet.com for people that have a similar scooter. But for now, I'm just trying to get some brakes fitted. You can buy the brakes, just the lever and just the caliper and the fittings, and then buy brake line and cut the brake line to size and get it all fitted and everything. That's just an extra chore I don't want to really deal with, but it is possible. All right, I'm going to read the chat now. Let's see what's going on in the chat. We have 13 people here. Welcome, everybody, to the chat. Brembo should make brakes for scooters, says Steve. Yeah, that'll be the day. They make like high-end F1 racing rotors and brakes. I don't know. Those are for cars usually. Voller Sport, they're big Suron brakes, but like $500. Yeah, that's the thing about brakes. It seems like in the sub $80 category, you just have kind of meh brakes. And then you get into the $90 to $150 range, and they're pretty darn good. And then from the $150 to $500 range, they look cooler, but it's really hard to distinguish from what I've read the actual performance of the brake, unless everything's totally dialed and you're like doing really hardcore downhill riding where the brakes are gonna heat up and you're gonna be using the thicker rotor and the more surface area of the brake pads and stuff. But it seems like around $150 to $200 is the sweet spot for, if you want to spend money and get good brakes. You shouldn't spend more than that, because honestly, you're not going to notice probably on a scooter unless you're on the track. If you're on the track, that's probably a different story. You're stopping and going all the time. Lots of people run 203 millimeter on the Roadrunner Pros. Yeah, you can do that. You just need a special adapter, and the adapters aren't very generic from what I've found. There might be someone who sells like a special adapter specifically for the Roadrunner Pro, but I didn't see it when I was looking. I actually didn't even look into the Roadrunner Pro. I think the brakes on that thing are fine, but I could see someone upgrading the brakes on it. There's some people out there with the Roadrunner Pro that just go ham on upgrades. Like, they make thicker tires and better brakes and handlebar upgrades and like strap-on speakers and external batteries and little racks for the back and everything. So I've seen some really cool Roadrunner Pros. There's no doubt about that. Let's see what else we got in the chat here. Get Voller Sports made for scooters. Voller Sports, you say? We'll have to look into that. I'm going to turn on my browser in a few minutes, and we'll go browse the interwebs together and see what we can find. Bella Star Wing says, hi, I follow you on Relive. Well, you're like one of the 10 people. I post all my range tests usually to Relive. So if you want to see the range test results before I actually publish them on YouTube, go follow Ginger on Wheels on Relive, and then you can see it. It's like a sneak peek. But also, if you're a Patreon, you get the whole entire video before everyone else, because I upload to Patreon usually, if I remember, before I publish it on YouTube. Turpy Panda says Magura adapter, LOL. Is it really? Are you talking about the Roadrunner Pro? I don't know if I'd throw down for a Magura adapter. It's probably like $70 for a little bracket. Athrix says, hey again, how many miles to replace the disc brakes rotors on the VSET 9 Plus? I'm at 100 miles and I've noticed my front brake disc has been squeaking. Not sure if they're worn out already. So if your brakes are squeaking, 90% of the time it just means you got crud on there. And having really low-end brake pads doesn't help, but one of the things you can do, the main thing that everyone's going to tell you to do if you post my brakes are squeaking online, is to take the disc off or just like rub it with some isopropyl alcohol, pull the brake pads out and kind of wash them down with soapy water. And you can even like take some fine grit sandpaper and sand the brake pads and put them back on, and it shouldn't squeak anymore. But it happens on lower end or medium end brakes when they get dusty or they get crud stuck in them. Like if you get a little tiny pebble of a rock embedded in the brake pad somehow, then yeah, you're gonna get squeaky brakes. I watched a lot of YouTube videos last night of all different types of brakes, and there's even people with squeaky Magura brakes. They put them on, they rode on a trail for like 10 minutes, and their brakes were squeaking. So I guess just stay out of the grit and mud and like all that stuff that collects on the side of the road where you're riding your scooter a lot of the time. Try not to ride in that. Turpy Panda says, no, I put quad pistons on my Roadrunner Pro. Nice. Congratulations. I've done a lot to mine. Oh, you're one of those guys. You're the guy who's tricked out his Roadrunner Pro. Taralula says, hello, bro. Should I fully charge a new scooter before the first ride? Absolutely. That's like, I think they say that in most manuals. If you get a new scooter and you put it all together, I know it's really tempting to just hop on the thing and ride, but you've got to pump the tires up because they're never at the right PSI from the factory, and you don't want a flat tire on your first ride. And you got to charge it up. Like, get the battery to full. It's really healthy for batteries to cycle them full all the way down to cutoff and full and cutoff. But a lot of times we can't maintain that, so it's best to store your scooter around like 70% battery or so, which a lot of manufacturers do when they ship it. But then there's this thing called phantom discharge, where it'll just kind of slowly discharge by itself through ghost routes through the wires, or just out of safety from the BMS will do it sometimes, but it'll slowly trickle down in shipping is what I'm getting at. So you want to charge your scooter up to full for the first time. You have maximum voltage. It's good for the battery. You can ride the scooter down till it's really low battery and then go home and slow charge it back to full. And then you'll be all good with your battery. Everyone will be happy. JM Travels, always fully charged for maiden voyage. Yes, sir. Fully charge your scooter up for the maiden voyage. Turpy says, Magura makes a 203mm adapter, but any front adapter will work. It's a lot more flexible on e-bikes, that's for sure, because you have way more clearance between where the rotor is on the actual tire and then the edge of the tire and the fork and everything. On a scooter, it's like really close. So a lot of brakes won't even fit. A lot of adapters that are supposed to fit those brakes won't fit, because when you move your adapter, or you move your caliper, it'll end up in spots where it's touching your frame or rubbing on the tire, and it's just no good. It's hard to find a good match, but a lot of people do it. I've seen the InMotion RS with really sweet brakes. They make like a metal, I want to call it a sheath, that goes over the brake cables, and some people have like gold and silver ones, and they've got them all tricked out with like, I forget what they're called, Tektro brakes. I've seen a couple people with Maguras, but again, I'm not going to spend like, between the adapters, the brake hose, and then the actual levers and calipers, you're looking at like $500, $600 just for brakes. And to me, that really doesn't even make sense, even on the GTR or the RS or something. Don Scott says, sup peeps and kitties. Cool sunglassy face. Yep, welcome to the chat. We're just going to do a short live stream today. I want people to tell me right now, how is the quality of the stream? I know my hair is a little fuzzier on the edges. It's really hard to get the chroma key exactly right on the green screen. Oops. I should have made the green screen bigger. But the quality overall of my face, like, can you see the oil shimmering on my cheeks? Can you see the zits on my nose? Because you should be able to, according to everything I read online. Last night was study and breaks night. The night before that was everything about live streaming. Anything you could want to know about any little setting in live streaming and how everything's encoded and decoded and different encoding processes and how much bit rate YouTube lets you have. I got all that in here now. So I think I have it dialed. But I don't know. I really don't know. It depends a lot on your upload speed versus your desired quality. Audio isn't perfect, but the video is all good. Okay, tell me what about the audio isn't perfect. I got an external mic here. Is it better now? I don't know if it's maybe just too quiet. Is that the issue? You're glistening, friend, says JM Travels. Thank you. Okay, Troy, I need you to elaborate on what isn't perfect about the audio. Anything? I can click a button on the receiver and I can get more gain out of it, but everything looks good to me. So the only way I know if the stream is bad is after it saves and processes on YouTube. I can go back and watch the stream, and then I always go, "Oh my god, people were actually watching that? That's just cringe." Your audio's good over here. No lag on this side. Okay, what about the volume? Volume good? Volume bad? Some type of humming from the audio. Now that I don't like. I don't like that at all. Okay, well, how about the video? Is the video good? I'll go back and I'll rework. I didn't really... the bit rate on the audio I did adjust to the desired YouTube levels, but we'll see. There's no fan on. There's nothing on. It shouldn't be picking up any volume. Kind of sounds like you're in the hallway. Well, now, is that right? Let's see here. I figured it out. I figured it out. Give me a second. Give me just 1 second. Let's see here. Oh, son of a... Did my... I figured it out. I did figure it out. Well, that's a friggin' bummer. I can't believe I did that. The audio capture is from the camera, not my actual microphone. Focus, focus. I have audio input capture set to the webcam, so it's going to get louder when I go right here. See, isn't that much better? Yeah. Okay. Let's add another audio device right now and see if I can get it to work, maybe. Audio input capture. No, just no. I think we can use the Yeti microphone, though. Test. What about now? How do we sound now? I probably sound pretty good. Yeti microphones are pretty good. Now my camera just can't figure out how to focus. Hello, camera. Can you guys still hear me? Yeah, much better. That's what I thought. Okay, well, I set up the Rode mic. I turned it in. I guess I plugged the Rode mic into the wrong audio jack on my computer or something. It's a learning process, you guys. This is like not my first live, but I also am not experienced. Okay, let's talk more about brakes. The good stuff. On me. We're going to have to turn off the audio input capture on all the other channels I have started as well. Okay. Sorry. Okay, we're back. We're back. What scooters are in the background? Yeah, they're just AI scooters. I thought it would be cool to do a little AI room. I turned myself all purple kind of too to match the lighting in this little fake room I'm in. But I just wanted to dink around with the... I mean, it looks better than this, right? I think it looks better than that anyways. Anyway, what's your real opinion on solar scooters? Says Appland. Never ridden one. They've never reached out to me. I've never seen a video on a solar scooter. I feel like they're probably just a rebrand of something else if I just had to guess off the top of my head. But let's go ahead and look at the solar scooters real quick, shall we? See what we can dig up here. Wait a minute. Are you talking about solar charging scooters? Because that would be new to me. I had the Lurpy R1 or S1 or something that had a solar panel that you could plug in for as the charger at the park. I have a feeling though you're talking about like this one. And my opinion is it's a rebranded FLJ scooter using components from like 5 years ago. And they have a pop-up on their website. 10,000 watt motor. No, it doesn't have a 10,000 watt motor. Who's in charge here? 10,000 watts peak between both of them, maybe. 65 mile per hour top speed. I highly doubt that. The Solar FF 2.0 is the sport SUV of the scooter world, representing years of R&D. Not from Solar Scooter, though, from FLJ. FLJ is this big, huge factory in China, and they manufacture like 90% of scooter parts. And most scooters you see are just some sort of Franken-scooter of FLJ components, FYI. And I've been seeing these types of scooters on the internet for years. I'm not a fan. Featuring two 4,000 watt ultra performing brushless motors. They used oversized motors. I guarantee you they're not delivering 8,000 watts of nominal power. Like the controller just can't push that much. It's got off-road tires too, so above 50 miles an hour, you're going to be floating around going. It doesn't look safe. The front suspension looks janky. It's got that weird folding latch thing. I've seen this before where you can like accidentally push it or pull it and the thing will fold. And the fact that they have these little side stem things, it looks like an afterthought. It looks like they built the scooter and then they put it through like a little bit of testing and the stem kept breaking. So then they were like, well, I'm not scrapping the scooter. We already spent $50 designing it. What if we just throw like 2 little more reinforcement stems on the side? That'll probably work, right? And then someone went, yeah, sure, we can do that, whatever. And then they did it and didn't test it at all and sent it out. That's what it looks like to me, if you want my honest opinion. Yeah, not the biggest fan of solar scooters, in case you couldn't tell. It looks just like the that scooter that I tested when I was in North Carolina. I can't even remember the name of now because it was just not great. Anyway, back to business. Let's catch up with the chat. I only like their e-bike. Sup, bro? How are you? Alice says, hey, Ginge. Ooh, we got a babe in the chat. Don't scare her off, you guys. Looks like all FLJ, says Juice Biker. You're not wrong. Just Google FLJ scooter. That's like the Yume scooters. They're just rebranded FLJs with like a few little proprietary components in there. Not great. There's so many rebranded scooters. Like the early Nan Robot D4 Plus, rebranded FLJ. Strix said, would you recommend the Kukirin G2 Master? Heck yes, I would. I think I have like almost 200 miles on mine now. It's sort of my scooter that I ride when I don't really want to go a long distance, and I'm not in the mood to just like stand and cruise. I want to have some fun, you know? I want to jib off of curbs. I want to do little wheelies. I'm not very good at wheelies, but they're fun to do, little ones. The G2 Master is a fun little scooter, not gonna lie. It feels like it has too much power for how big it is. And I don't know if it has something to do with the narrower tires and narrow deck, but you can adjust the bars down, and I've had zero problems with mine. It's set up perfectly out of the box. There's been no issues with it whatsoever. I really do like the Kukirin scooters, except for the G4. G4 I'm not a big fan, but the G3 Pro and the G2 Master, they're great scooters for the price. The only thing I would change on them is the battery. And I contacted the factory and I said, yo, you guys, such a good scooter, but like if you used higher quality cells and charged an extra $75 to $100 for the scooter, we could get so much more battery life for the same weight, and it would just be such a better scooter. alas, they're using what do they call them? Domestic cells from China, and they literally have no name. They're just like, here's the specs. We think they look like LG cells on paper, right? But they're not. They're definitely not. I ordered these firelights. I had these built for me special from a factory in China. You can buy them on pevoutlet.com. But when I first got them, the waterproofing that wasn't really waterproof, so I had to redesign the gaskets. I requested specially before I ordered them 5,000 milliamp hour Lishan cells, and I don't think that they thought, or I don't think that they knew I was going to take it apart when I got it. So I literally smashed one open with the hammer and took the cells out and put it in my battery tester, and they were like 3,300 milliamp hours, not 5,000 milliamp hours. So I had to do a whole big thing with them and get into a big argument, dispute the charge with Alibaba until they finally just sent me a new batch with the actual cells that I paid for. But 90% of the time, if you're looking at something that's advertised in China and the website's made in China, or the page is made in China and uploaded in other countries, just divide the specs in half. That's the rule of thumb I've come to know. Like, motor output, 5,000 watt motor. Okay, that's a 2,500 watt motor. 5,000 milliamp hour battery. No, that's 2,500 milliamp hour. A BMS that puts out 40 amps. No, it puts out like maybe 25. It's just, unless you specifically ask for a model and a name or something, and then you like test it when you get it, there's no way to know that it's actually what you ordered. And that's what a lot of the scooters that come direct from China with no US intervention are like. Like Voro Motors will order a batch of scooters, but they actually have a guy in China that will go to the factory and make sure they're doing everything that they told them to do and make sure that they're good to go before they get sent to the US. But there's a lot of companies in the US that will order things from China, and then they'll say, I want LG cells and I want these motors and yada, yada, yada. And then they'll get the scooter and it will function, and they'll just assume they have all the components that they wanted. But really, it's just substituted with made in China stuff that makes the scooter half as good at best and costs the same price. So anyway. Ray Living Good. Have you heard or seen the Hezo F9 scooter? Hezo makes some unusual scooters. I've never heard of it, never seen it. I don't know. Maybe we'll check it out a little later. I ride Teveron Supreme. Nice. Teveron's a good brand. They have come a long way, and they've got a lot of proprietary components. They actually have Maguras on the Teveron, the newer one, I think, right? Am I thinking about the wrong brand? But they're one of the only scooter, I think, that I've seen stock Magura brakes on. And I think they're the MT5Es, but if they're installed properly and they work well, that's a major win for people buying that scooter. I don't know how many Magura brakes you have to buy in bulk to get a discount on those, but I couldn't find it anywhere. Best I could find was like you buy 100 and then you get like $5 off each set. So the resale value on those, the margins are slim. I think Magura's controlling that. Do you still use the Weeped scooter? Oh, I used the Weeped scooter for literally like 2 rides, and what happened to it? I think the BMS died, or something died. I was on the Seattle Saturday night ride, like 30 miles from my house, cruising with the gang, coolest guy around. I'd already done my speed runs past everybody, showed off the abilities, and we were just kind of headed back to the start point. And there was a couple people in front of me and a couple people behind me, and the scooter just died with like 40% battery left. And it was the most embarrassing thing ever. I had to get a guy on a unicycle to bust out a little bungee cord, and we strapped it to the handlebars of the scooter, and he towed me back to the park where I came from. And that was the last I saw of that scooter, the Weeped FS from eWheels. I sent it back. They thought the controller died when I relayed all the things that happened, all the symptoms to the factory. They said, oh yeah, your controller died. And they didn't know why. And I didn't know why. It was just like the literal first big ride that I did on that scooter. So eWheels said, yeah, send it back to us. We'll get it fixed, or we'll send you a replacement or something. I'm not sure what happened. I sent it back to eWheels, and then they had a huge fire at the eWheels warehouse, and the Weeped went up in the fire with a bunch of like $2-3 million worth of stuff. So never saw the Weeped again. That was just that. I had a really good time riding it, though. It was a ferocious scooter, very heavy. But I guess they had an issue with the controller. Anyway, let's check the chat. Looking forward to see what Voro Motors has cooked up for their coming Roadrunner V3. Me too. Never know. You never know. I really hope they redo that front suspension though, or at least the rear. Like if I can upgrade the rear suspension for $50, I feel like you guys, they should do it too for the customer. But there's a lot of lightweight riders, or what do they call them? Weekend riders who just really kind of hop on the thing for funsies every now and again, and they're not going to care or notice that the rear suspension is garbage. But if you commute on that thing for a while and you hit enough speed bumps, you start to realize, you know, I feel like there's probably better suspension out there, and there totally is for $50. I love my Nami and my G2D Max. That's actually a really good combo. The Nami for like super fun, fast, exhilarating rides, and then the G2D just to get chores done. Or like if you're not feeling like wearing a helmet, you just kind of want to putter on the block. Anyway. Should I upgrade from nut brakes to Magura brakes? It really depends. It definitely depends. If you have nut brakes that work well for you and they seem okay, I wouldn't go through the hassle of upgrading them. Especially to Maguras, you're going to drop $500 on them. I would probably try upgrading to something a little less radical first. I know they make quad piston Magura brakes, and we just don't see them on scooters for some reason. The manufacturers, I don't know why, they'll cheap out on like things like the strength of aluminum bolts. They'll go down 2 strength levels to save like a dime on the overall cost of the scooter. They'll shave like $5 off by getting significantly worse brakes, or, you know, it just goes down the board like that until the scooter is just mid when it could have been so good for like an extra couple $100. But anyway, nut brakes are usually pretty good. A lot of people swear by them, especially over the Zoom brakes, which have a habit of leaking oil or having air bubbles in the lines, or just generally wearing out really fast. But there are some other nice brands of brakes I found that are kind of outside the scooter world, and they're generally not seen on scooters because you have to cut and snip and install your own length of brake line or tubing that goes from the caliper to the lever. But we'll go over that in a minute. Sorry, my chat's getting long. We got 27 viewers still here. I guess it's not the worst thing in the world, but I'm going to start talking about brakes that I found online because there are some goodies. What are those X-Tech brakes that come on the eMove Cruisers? Those are semi-hydraulic brakes. X-Tech, I looked into it. They do make some pretty good brakes. And the ones that are on the eMove Roadrunner V2, and they were on the Roadrunner, not the Roadrunner, the eMove Cruiser V2 and the eMove Cruiser V1. Those were both X-Tech brakes, and they're semi-hydraulic. We talked about that in the beginning of the chat. They're not great. Like for an extra $30, they could have upgraded to full hydraulic, but they didn't. I'm all about the quad piston full hydraulic brakes now. Just the fact that the surface area of the brake pad is wider. The brake is actually, it's kind of like a curve, so it takes up more of the rotor when it's squeezing, and you get quad pistons usually with rotors or with brake pads that long. You have pistons on this side and pistons on this side instead of just one pushing each brake pad together. So it actually pinches the pads more evenly on the caliper, and you get way better stopping power. They don't heat up as fast. They don't wear down as fast. But something I did learn last night when I was reading about brakes is that the rotor itself can actually wear down. So all these scooters that I thought the brakes are just going meh after a while, like you can bleed the brakes and change the pads, but some of the scooters I have with like 5,000 miles on them, it's not the same as it was before. And I think it's because the rotor is getting worn down. So I'm going to take my little, I don't know what they're called. It's like a little caliper that measures in millimeters. And I'm going to measure the thickness of the rotors on the scooters I have. And I'd be willing to bet money that the older scooters have rotors that are worn down below the recommended manufacturer limits, which is usually 1.7 millimeters. Anything less than that, and the rotors are going to start to warp. They're going to start to like heat up really fast, so you won't be able to stop that well, and they'll squeak, and they just generally don't have the same stopping power. But On the InMotion RS and the Cabo King GTR, I measured them. They're like 3 millimeters. So they upgraded the thickness on those rotors for sure, and it does help with the stopping power, even if you have the same brakes. It's subtle, but it's very noticeable. If you're accelerating really fast and then stopping, and you accelerate really fast, stop at the next stoplight, those brakes don't wear out. They also have these things called floating rotors. So most scooters come with rotors that are just one big solid piece of metal. And they have floating rotors, which means there's a piece in the middle that attaches to the hub of the motor. And then there's a piece that goes around the middle piece that's attached by little rivets. And that's the only piece that touches the brake lever. So they don't heat up as fast. And floating rotors. Got to look into getting like 2 millimeter or 3 millimeter thick floating rotors with quad piston full hydraulic brakes. That would be chef's kiss. Another thing you can think of though is brake pad material. They have like ceramic brakes and organic brakes and all sorts of areas in between compounds that you can use for different brake pads. But that's a bigger thing in cars where stopping actually really matters on the track. There's only like 3 or 4 different kinds for scooters or mountain bikes that I could find. All right, back to the chat. Big Boys PEV says, hello, Ginger. Hello, Big Boys PEV. E-Scoot says, rotors are also really important. Most scooters have bike rotors that are not designed for high speeds. Yes, this is what I found. Let's go ahead and pop up on this browser. If we're not going to do it now, I don't know when we're going to do it. All right. Getting over here. Sorry, I got to move all my windows over. My eyeball's getting blurry. Stream health. I got a little stream health indicator this time. Looks good. It says excellent. 25 concurrent viewers. That's awesome. Anyway, these are different types of brakes. We'll start at the beginning. So, you've got these brakes. And an important thing about scooters, you see this little red wire that's coming off of the lever? That's the thing. It needs to be a 2-pin connector that plugs into a wire coming out of your controller, and that will disengage the motors when the brake is squeezed, and it will also engage your brake light, which is a pretty important thing to have, I feel like. So if you're going to install brakes, aftermarket brakes on a scooter, you got to make sure it has this little wire coming out. And some of the wires are really short, and they're not going to line up with how much actual length of wire you have coming out of your controller, and they just won't quite reach, and then you're SOL. So you got to make sure these wires are like 200 millimeters or 20 centimeters long at least on most scooters to match up. The things about these cheaper, you see right here on the brake lever, it has this big thumb screw sticking out. That's for adjusting the distance that the brake lever sits away from the handlebars when the lever is at rest. And on nicer brakes, this little thumb screw thing is usually smaller. And on these cheaper, you can see these brakes are, what are they, like $100 maybe for a set? Let's see what the set is. These are $250. I would not buy these brakes. They're quad piston full hydraulic. They got floating rotors, but the thumb screws and the reservoir for the oil in the caliper in the levers is just so small. It's got ventilated rotors too, brake pads. So these are the brake pads. You can see that this is where it actually contacts the rotor. And then up on here, these little things sticking out the top, those are little heat sinks. And when the brake pads actually start to heat up, the whole metal surface will heat up. And the more surface area you have, the more heat it will dissipate. And it will dissipate through these little slots on the top, I guess you call them. I don't know. But nut brake pads, and I guess these weird off-brandy ones, zeroing. I just don't like the way that the brake lever looks, honestly. It doesn't look that high quality. Looks super basic, but everything else looks really nice about them, actually. I take back what I initially said. Oh, they come with non-floating rotor sets, too. 160 millimeter. Anyways, let's keep moving on. We have got the classic, the nut calipers. And the nut brakes come on a few different scooters. I think they used to come a lot on Dualtrons. And they have the dual piston nut brakes, but these ones are quad piston. I found them. They do exist. The only difference is the length of the tubing This tubing for the rear is 2200 millimeters, 2.2 meters, and that will fit. But a lot of times the front brake, like this, isn't long enough. That's not going to fit your front tire. So they're meant for e-bikes. And I don't know which brand of e-bike has them on there, but I want to try and modify this for a scooter. It looks like at the bottom of here, it says suitable for the Kugu G Booster. I think because it has really short handlebars. The Ultron 11, Speedway 5. Yeah, these are all scooters with low handlebar. The Cabo Mantis 10, I don't think it would fit on that. I really don't. Moving on. The Tonkeys. I liked these for some reason. What did I like these for? Oh, I think they were really lightweight. They're like 500 grams or something, which is lighter than Maguro brakes. And they look very similar. Got the 4-piston Zoom brakes. I bet you guys didn't know that they made those. A lot of the Zoom brakes that come on scooters, I don't think I've ever seen quad-piston Zoom brakes on a scooter. They're always the dual piston, which means you have less surface area of the brake pad touching the rotor. It's not as even when it actually touches the rotor. A lot of times it's just the one piston pushing against the other piston. But this is quad piston, full hydraulic Zoom brakes. And you can get the set for like $150 versus $60 for the single piston ones. Let's see, can we find a set? Yeah, $200, less than $200. There you go. You got an upgrade for your scooter. If you're thinking about upgrading your brakes, look at these aftermarket ones. Like, granted, you still have the Zoom calipers, and something about the way that the Zoom brakes screw into the caliper is, I don't know if the oil evaporates out of there, or if it leaks, or if it like slowly leaks out of the piston sidewalls or something, but Zoom brakes get mushy quickly, at least compared to other ones that I've tested. On the Fideco Lightspeed Night, they had these brakes called the DY Island brakes, and those were beast, total beast mode. But those ones had really beefy calipers, really beefy levers, and they had a little reservoir inside the lever so you could look in and see, oh, I have this much oil left in my lines. And those were sweet brakes. Going over here, you got the super sexy brakes, but little pop quiz time. What's wrong with these brakes? You look at them and you think, oh yeah, that looks good. That looks like a really good design. It even comes with the fittings. It's not that great though. It's $139, and you know why? Because it doesn't have the little wire that comes out the side that connects to your brake line, or your brake lights. So if you want brake lights, or if you're the kind of person who cares about safety and you want your motors to turn off when you engage the brakes, then you don't want these. Also, I feel like that adjustment knob right there is going to get in the way. This little thing right here sticking out the side, it could get in the way of your gloves. I don't rest my finger on my brakes all the time. I usually rest my fingers on my handlebars when I'm cruising and riding and holding the throttle, and then I'll move my fingers over to the brake levers when I want to stop. And that little knobby screw, I've had brakes like that before. I don't know if I just have stupid gloves or something, but my finger will get snagged on that little screw and I'll go, oh, it takes me an extra second to get to the lever. And that little extra second could be all it takes for you to plow into a car. We've got the Moroka M4. I really liked these brakes. These are good looking brakes all around, but they don't have the little wire I was talking about. They even advertise as being able to fit the piece kind of right here that's in the middle of the moving screen that goes around the actual handlebar. It's hard to find 22 millimeter circumference for that, so it'll actually fit on the scooter handlebar and it will grab. These were one of the few ones that did. I didn't come with the right size brake lines though, so you got to make your own brake lines. But oh well. Moving up the road to the Maguras. These are the cheapest Maguras, but they work for e-bikes and 203 millimeter rotors. But yeah, you can see here this on eBay, $295. If you buy them through a credible source like Jensen Bike or something like that, they're like $350 more sometimes. Not great. I think though, these are the brakes that I'm gonna try to like get a real set of and buy and see what I can do, because these are insanely cheap. They have a lot of the things that the other brakes have, but you can buy a set. It comes with the right size brake line for the back. I'll only have to adjust the one for the front, but it comes with the G3 rotor. I think you can get it in 160 mil, or where's it at? It's 203. Yeah, so these are the 160 mil, I think. Yeah, it says right here. But the G3 rotor is the one that's 3 millimeters thick. So you have semi-decent hydraulic brakes on a thick rotor. I think these are the ones, because I'm not going to spend $350 on brakes, you guys. Yeah, sue me. But it's an electric scooter. It's not a car. Like, you can go to the car and get new rotors put on your car for $350. I'm not going to throw down that much for my scooter. But I think I could manage $150. I think I could do that. This is on Alibaba. You got to buy, what is it, 50 sets to get this price. But you can buy these on Amazon. I think they're like 150 or something. Let's check it out a little bit. Ooh, check out these Maguras. Oh, that's right. The pictures don't load on Jensen Bike for some reason when I'm streaming. But those look like nice Maguras right there. MT Trail SL brake set 4 piston front, 2 piston rear. Oh, I take it back. 2 piston rear. Okay. You do you, I guess. You can buy the MT5Es on Amazon. $113 for 1 brake and 1 lever, not including the fittings or the hose. Brutal. Yeah, brutal. But that would be fun, wouldn't it? Okay, I'm getting sidetracked. I'm going to start paying attention to the chat. We're going to watch this little video while I respond to you guys in the chat, because this is a video where I was off-roading my Wolf. Oh, this is right after I crashed it, actually. Funny enough, look at that. The brake lever the fitting popped out of the brake lever there. That's what got this whole brake thing started. I had no idea for like years, how the actual brake line attached into the lever and made a hydraulically tight seal. Like, there's oil in there, right? Squeezing around at super high pressure. Why is it not leaking out of the hose? But I did a video also where I replaced the brakes on this thing and fixed them up, and you can watch that. And in that video, you can see how it all fits together, and it's sort of like a thing that clicks, and you go, oh, okay, I guess that totally makes sense. The only thing that I know how it works, but I haven't seen it done in person yet, is the banjo nut that goes from the brake line to the caliper. Still not quite sure how that works, but I know how it's put together. I've seen videos on it. Anyway, yep, Turpy Panda and eScoot got the pop quiz right when I was asking you guys what was wrong with these brakes? Yeah, no lever, or I mean no wire to go to your brake lights. Bummer. 2-pin sensor. It's called the Juliet sensor, I think. Let's see. You'll have to get another rear, says Turpy Panda. I think you're talking about the Maguras. You have to get 2 rear ones just to have long enough lines. So the thing about a lot of these brakes that I haven't mentioned yet is that the calipers, they're usually for e-bikes meant to go, like, the disc brakes are on the left side of the bike. So a lot of scooters will have the front brake on the right and the left brake on the left. I'm talking about the position of the disc on the motor. And so that means that the caliper would be backwards, and it doesn't fit on backwards. So you have to find brakes that are either where the calipers are universal, they can go on both sides, or it specifically says, like on the GTR, the front is on the left side and the rear is on the right side. So you have to find that out before you order it. And it has to have the Juliet 2-pin connector, and it has to have quad pistons, and it needs to be full hydraulic, and the lines need to be long enough unless you feel like manufacturing your own in your living room. It's a hard list to check off all the boxes for. I swear though, I'm gonna find the right ones. I'm gonna find like 3 or 4 that I can modify at the factory and have them sent to me. I'm gonna test them. I'm gonna make a video of it on the GTR, and when I find the ones, I'm gonna start selling them on pevoutlet.com, because there needs to be better brakes on these things. We have like 350 pounds of mass at 60 miles per hour. We can't be using e-bike brakes anymore. It's just, we need something better, you know? There's got to be a middle ground between bicycle and motorcycle somewhere. Anyway, This is actually his living room. The man's a legend. That wasn't my living room, but you know, it kind of is. I just don't have AI scooters. I have real ones. The only problem with that right now is I'm not near the living room. I'm in my little, I don't know what I want to call this, prison room. I'm surrounded by a desk that's covered in camera equipment. I've got inventory over here, printing stations over here, green screen behind me, lamps and labels and printers and camera. It's just, this is my working place. I go here to work, and we're here now. We're doing the live stream. It's a lot more fun when you guys are here, I'll say that. Let's check the stream health. Oh, awesome. We're still at excellent stream health. We got 30 people in the chat. Looking good. Hopefully the quality's good. I know most people are on their lunch break right now, so this, again, was just kind of a quality test for me. I want to see how this looks after the video's done rendering on YouTube and uploads itself. Can I rewatch it at full resolution, or is it just garbage? If it's garbage, I'll fix it, but I don't think it is. Even though we're only streaming in 1080p right now, believe it or not. The Magura Trail have one-finger levers. So I have a question for you. You seem to know about this, Chirpy Panda. The brake levers that are shorter, that have like 2-finger or 1-finger actuation, how does that work on a scooter with the hand that you're using the throttle on? I was thinking like 1 finger might just be too short. You might be reaching a bit, but 2-finger may be okay. I kind of, on scooters that I own, I like longer brake levers because I know when I go from the bar to the lever to brake, I'm not gonna miss, you know. So I imagine on mountain biking, you're hovering 1 or 2 fingers over the brake levers kind of constantly on a downhill mountain bike, but on a scooter, it's sort of just like you're hanging out and you're on the throttle until you're suddenly not, and then you just have to reach for them. Turpy says olive and barb. Yeah, let's talk about that actually, because that's something that a lot of people don't know about. Brake olive and barb. And we're going to go back over here and we're going to look at them. So these are little fitting pieces that go in the end of your hydraulic brake line that create the little hydraulic seal against your rotor, or your caliper, I mean. That little piece in the end that's sticking out, this little silvery piece on the very end that looks barbed, yeah, that's called the barb. And the oil comes squirting out the end of that, and the barbs create a seal against the sidewall of the brake tube, or what, hose, whatever you want to call it. And so that's how the oil doesn't get out. It's got those little barbs in the way, and it just comes out the little hole in the end. And then this golden piece in the middle here, that's called the olive. And when you screw the threads in, the threads right after that big black piece, when you screw the threads into the brake lever, the olive actually gets smashed and deformed just a little bit in such a way that it creates a hydraulically tight seal. And you're not supposed to reuse the olive because when you screw it in the first time, it kind of deforms a little bit. You can, though, I've read, reuse the same olive if you're carefully changing the brakes, but you can also just buy kits like this where you get like, what is that, 12 spares just in case you screw it up, and they're cheap, $8, like that'd be worth it. So if you're gonna think about cutting your own brake line to size, I recommend getting one of these little kits, and you can just pick it up for like $10, and then you have all the spares in the world, not in case when you screw it up but like when you do screw it up, because you're gonna probably do it wrong. Then you'll have spares. Ooh, what are these? $140. Not bad, but no 2-pin connector. Okay. I'm going to go back to the video. I'm going to talk to you guys in the chat, and then I'm going to log off. I've been talking enough about brakes. I don't know if you've seen how many tabs I have open now. This is just for show and tell purposes. I swear to God, I had like probably 60 tabs open last night. I have two 50-inch monitors here, and I had the Google Chrome thing just stretched out along both monitors with tabs so small you couldn't even read the names of them. I've got some brakes that I wanna order. The main ones that I want to get, though, I was talking to this factory. They make solid brakes. Nothing about them seems wrong except for the length of the hose. But I talked to the factory and said, hey, I've got a bunch of scooters. I want to make a really big order for tons of these things. Can you modify the length of the hose from the factory so that I don't have to dink with it? The brake levers will be full of oil. The brake lines will be full of oil. And all I have to do, take a little pin off the top of the hose and then stick it in with the olive and the barb into the lever, and it'll be all set up. Pretty much plug and play. And they said, yeah, we can do that. So I just need to talk with them about a little bit more about making sure that they fit on the left and the right sides, you know, universal fitment and all. These are the ones I'm talking about. Sorry, you couldn't see before. The Fast Ace e-bike. These actually come on the Sur-Ron XC, believe it or not. Got thick rotors, got nice brakes, comes with some of the stuff you need, got the 2-pin connector. We're in business. You just got to buy 50 sets to get this price. Otherwise, they're literally double the price. So I might just throw down and buy 50 sets and then distribute them amongst the e-scooter community. We'll see what happens. Rebarbing a line isn't too bad. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. But I'm sure you browse the scooter forums enough as well to realize that like 90% of people that buy scooters have no mechanical experience whatsoever. They have no idea what they're doing. They don't even know what an Allen wrench is until you tell them. And for people that are like that deserve better brakes, there needs to be a more plug and play type of kit with like 3 steps. You know, replace lever, replace caliper, plug hose into lever with this semi-complicated step, and then you're done. But if you have to like cut the hose to size, you have to put the barb in, you have to put the olive on the right direction, you have to basically do a brake bleed to get the lines full of oil, and it just seems like 5 or 6 extra steps that normal people are going to have a hard time with, and I don't want to go browsing around on forums and see that question asked 50 times. Gets me Nemo, come get your food. That's my automatic cat feeder going off. Is that my cue to go? It's lunchtime for them. It's probably lunchtime for me. Some brake sensors have 3-pin connectors, but of course they're not too common. This is true, and there's a different type of connector. Maybe this is the one you're talking about. It's like a rectangle, and then it has 3 barbs coming out, and they're usually a lot longer. They plug in somewhere near the controller or like midway down the brake line. Yeah, for electric scooters, though, as far as we're concerned, I've only seen the 2-pin connectors. I don't know why factories are using single piston hydraulic brakes. That used to be the shiz back when Dualtron was the king of the game, and they would say, we have hydraulic brakes on our scooters, and people would just lose their minds. It's like, yeah, but they're only 145 millimeter and they're single piston. It's like, they're not that much better, really, if you think about it. But I bet you all the mountain bike guys were laughing at us back then. But now that I'm savvy on all the technologies of the mountain bike and motocross world, I'm thinking those aren't that great. We need quad piston full hydraulic with the Juliet 2-pin. We need ventilated rotors. Ooh, the Fast Ace even has the little oil window in there, so you can see how much oil you have, or if your brake pads are just worn out. Anyway, I'm gonna log off soon. Anybody got any pressing questions? Scoot the Harbor pulls in at the last minute. Says, hi, Ginge. What is up, sir? We're testing out the quality of the new live streaming equipment. Hopefully it's okay. We had the little browser open. We got a little AI room. Maybe I'll go back to here for the finale. Hanging out in artificial intelligence land with all my sick new scooters that are all the same, even though I told the AI bot they all need to be different. AI's not that smart yet, you guys. Something you may look into, says Don Scott, an adapter for a GX16 to a new insulated port batteries that Dualtron has. Insulated port batteries? This is news to me. Back to the browser. Let's check out what the heck that is. Dualtron insulated port. It's a charge port of some kind. What makes it insulated? Oh, that's my internet speed right now. Using up all my bandwidth on streaming. Insulated port. I assume you're just talking about this funky connector right here. It's a good picture of it, right? Don, is this what you're talking about? I gave it like 2 weeks, and there will be sellers on AliExpress selling an adapter for that. Because the InMotion RS had a proprietary one, and the GTR has a proprietary one too that looks actually pretty similar to that. But like a month or two after the scooters came out, AliExpress sellers were like, "Oh, we can do that," and they just copied the design, made a little adapter. And now you can buy the adapters on AliExpress for like $15. Turpy says it's already on AliExpress. Well, problem solved. There you go. Yeah, scooter companies, I'm sure they were, no pun intended, I'm sure they were feeling the heat from all the e-scooter and e-bike fires. And they said, you know, what can we do to prevent people from using aftermarket chargers? Let's just make a special charging port that you can't plug any other charger into except ours that we know works. And then an adapter comes out, and people are still plugging aftermarket chargers into it, but now there's an adapter in the way, which is like another factor to introduce fires, so that kind of made them more dangerous. But that's neither here nor there. We're not talking about charging today. I was curious what the insulated charger is, though. It looks a lot like the Cabo GTR charge port. Find a good picture of it. Yep, right there. Looks a lot like that, doesn't it? Cabo Mantis GT and the Warrior GT. They're using these now too. Freaking Cabo. All right. No new questions in the chat. I'm hungry. I'm bored. I just kind of wanted to stop by for like an hour and say hi to you guys. I really had nothing special to say. Just wanted to talk about brakes. See if you guys had any suggestions. I wanted someone to chime in and be like, oh, I used the Alabaster brakes. They don't have any marketing, but they're super good. And we didn't get any of that. It is just kind of, they either fit on your scooter or they don't on either side of the tire. And the brake lines are long enough or they aren't. And that's kind of just where we're at right now. So someone's got to make something. I want to see the Cabo King GTR Pro, and I want to see it with 3mm thick rotors, with ventilated pads, quad piston, nice beefy brakes. I want the levers to have the little Juliet 2-pin connector, and I just want everything to work. And I think they can do it if they just increase the price of the scooter by like $100. Or shave $100 of margin off, because we all know that they're making like 50 to 100% margin on these scooters when they sell them, right? Yeah, these look okay, but the actual pads look pretty short. You want a nice long, kind of rounded brake pad. Make more contact with the, oh, these are Shimano's figures. Everything else looks good. It's just got those short, stubby little square pads. These are the same pads that are on the single piston brakes. So that doesn't make much sense, does it? Let's shear that again. Can I hire you for repairs / maintenance? Nope, you cannot. I used to be all into that. I used to have people in Seattle drop off their scoots, and I used to fix them up. But it's just too much stress. Basically, the fact that you have to wait for parts for like weeks at a time, and I don't have a garage. If I had a garage, it'd be a different story, but I'm working out of my living room. So when I have to go downstairs and make eggs and turn my head and look at this giant, colossal pile of taking apart scooters and unicycles that I've created, it's depressing. And it sort of messes with me mentally to where I feel like I can't get anything else done until I do that. But yeah, anyway. I'll do repairs here and there for local Seattle riders that are cool, and I just kind of feel like I have nothing to do that week. And I'll do like a disc brake change or maybe a tire swap on a V-set or something. But I no longer charge money and do repairs for extensive stuff. Sorry. Scoot the Harbor says, I can't even get him to fix mine. Sir, I installed the controllers on your eMove Cruiser. If you come to me, now we're talking. But when you're going to make me drive an hour down some 405, I don't know if he's closed down to one lane. I don't know if you know. It's brutal driving down there. I told you I'd do it when I get my Sherman L, though. Still got that unicycle on pre-order. Like 3-4 more weeks. I'm going to be itching to put miles on that thing, and that seems like I could do that ride. Might go say hi, what's up? But until then, you come to me. Then we're talking. Anyway, Theo Freya selling any scooters recently or in the future? No. I usually sell off my collection when it gets to about 1.5 years old. If I have a scooter that I look at and I say, I haven't ridden that thing for like 9 months and it's no longer relevant. Like if I made a video, it would get no views. Then I'll sell it or throw it in storage. But right now, everything I've got is super ripe. I can post a video of it on YouTube and there's always people out there that are like, oh, should I buy it? And they watch my video. Except for the Kukirin G4. That was a video. I said I didn't like it, and then all the people came out of the woodwork and were like, you don't like it? What do you mean? I got 200 miles on mine, no issues. I'm like, okay, great. That's good for you. How many other scooters have you ridden? And you probably weigh 150 pounds. I'm glad you like it, but I don't. Anyway, don't like the Kukirin G4. Chirpy Panda, that's called a hyperfocus, sir. Yeah, I do have ADHD bad, in case you couldn't tell by my upload schedule. And I've literally been up all night. I've been up for over 24 hours right now. I was up all night researching these brakes. And I felt guilty that I didn't film a video yesterday because I was up all night the night before that, almost all night. I took a nap during the middle of the day. But that's when I was researching the settings for live streaming. But I was starting to feel guilty that I hadn't put anything out on YouTube. And I said, oh, I have a great idea. Well, I'm just manically tired. Let's go on live stream. Anyway. Yeah, my health insurance expired, so no more ADHD meds. We're just winging it. What about the nut breakers? Any good? You are going to have to rewatch this live stream once I'm done, sir, because we talked about the nut brakes. They're pretty good, pretty decent. The single caliper ones, a little less decent, but they do make quad piston ones. You can just buy the lever and the caliper and use the same line that you already have. Just disconnect those two things, reconnect the new ones, and then you have quad piston brakes, but still not the best. Theo Freya says, get some sleep. Well, I would. I had to drive to Bonnie Lake last night. This little bag right here might as well be DRUGS. You know what these are? Can anybody guess? I want someone to guess what these are. If you can guess, then you pay way too much attention to Ginger on Wheels. Anybody? Bushings! Turpy Panda got it. Yes, they're bushings for the Wolf Warrior suspension kits, which I'm out of stock on PEV Outlet. Those things sell, like, as soon as I get stock of those, which means as soon as I stayed up all night making a dozen of them in my living room, then they sell out, like, in 2 days. There's so many people that have Wolf GTRs and Wolf Kings. Like, I didn't realize they had sold that many until I started selling these things. In the US only, I've gone through like 300 sets of these upgrade kits. It's crazy. We have a massive box behind me containing the springs. These are really hard to get in bulk, but I found the factory that makes them. We get them in bulk now. That's expensive shipping. I get these 3D bushings custom made. We made the little upload. We made the tutorial on my channel. We have got the hardware bags right here. And yeah, that's like 1/4 of my existence now is either making the kits, fulfilling the orders online, packing them, or riding on my wheel to the UPS store to drop them off. I'm thankful. I get a lot of business from it. I make like $10 off each kit. But good God, I do sell a lot of them. Dang, bro, did you upgrade the basement? Says Marcus. Yeah, man, we're in the $10 million studio. No, this is an AI green screen. Sorry to disappoint. When I get a printer, if I can get them printed, I'll work with you. You would be like the 10th person that said that, and you'll probably be the 11th person that doesn't follow through. No offense, but it's really hard to get someone to say, yes, I'll do it. I'll buy the TPU and mail it to their house. And then like 3 or 4 weeks will go by and they'll be like, oh man, sorry, I've been really busy. I can't do it. I don't know. Like, blah, blah, blah. Excuses. I'll send you the STL file. You print them. I'll send you a shipping label to mail them to me. And that'll be that. But apparently, I don't know what it is about these little things, but they're really hard to print accurately. They always fall apart on printing tables. There's guys with like $500 3D printers that have tried it and they can't do it. Something about the side walls, or I don't know anything about 3D printing, but anyway. I'm capped in follow through. TPU is finicky. First batch, I'll get my own filament. Okay, well, yeah, sure. If you want to print them out, I'll give you 50 cents per bushing if you want to start printing these out for me, because they are in high demand and I need them. They're an essential element to the Wolf Warrior suspension upgrade kits. I've got 2 of those I need to drop off at the post office before I go to sleep, by the way. Okay, I'm going to end the live stream. I said that like 3 times. Let's watch some video of me on my GTR while I ask you one last time, does anybody have any questions? Because I'm probably not going to be live for like another week or so. I got to film a video on the, oh, friggin' frick. What was that bike that I just unboxed live? It wasn't live, was it? No, it was like a really HD video I did. The GeForce RS. Got that bike sitting in my living room and it doesn't work because of, guess why? The brakes. The sensors in the electronic brakes are too sensitive and they're always on. So you can't engage the motor because the brakes think they're being engaged. So I have to unplug the brake sensors to get the bike to work. And I can't make a video where the brake sensors are unplugged because then it just looks ghetto. So I'm waiting on the factory to send me new brake levers and hopefully that'll fix it. But once I get those, grinding out another video, and I'm going to try and get that video out by Saturday. Marcus Smith has a legitimate question, everyone. Let's listen up. Ginger, I want to grab a Roadrunner Pro. Been hesitant on it for about a year now. Are they planning to drop a newer model? I've heard rumor of a Roadrunner Pro V3. We were talking about this earlier. I hope it's going to have upgraded suspension, but I know it's going to be more expensive. And I also know, at best, it's going to have like maybe thicker tires. I don't think they're going to do anything with the controllers or the battery. But maybe better suspension too. And if you really just want one now, friggin' pull the trigger. There's a discount code you can use on my channel. If you go to Linktree, I'm sure I've got the discount code on there, or just use Ginger on Wheels at Voro, you get a discount. But then go to this lovely little Amazon gadget window here, right here, and just go type in, what is it? I want to say 230 millimeter suspension. Nope, it's not. What is it? 210? Chirpy probably knows. He owns a Roadrunner Pro. How many millimeters is that suspension on the upgrade kit that you can get for the Roadrunner Pro? I don't know. Go watch my Roadrunner Pro video that I did on YouTube. I've done a few videos on it, and I have the upgraded suspension linked in the description of each of the videos. If you click the little more button on the video, it'll show you which ones I got. Thank you, sir. Sorry, late to the party. 290 stock, 320 works. I have 340. Whoa, you're just super special. Well, I've got 400. Are they really 290 though? Yeah, not 320 is ringing a bell. I need to get rid of this though. There they are. 250 bucks? Abso-friggin-lutely not. Yeah, 70 bucks. That's what I'm talking about. These things have really gone up in price though. These were like $40 when I bought them. These will work. There you go. Upgrade your Roadrunner Pro suspension. Sorry, I think I might have misinterpreted your question, Dragomir. I misread that on account of the no sleep. You said Roadrunner V3, and I'm thinking of a Roadrunner Pro V3. I wouldn't know anything about a Roadrunner V3. If I had to guess, though, I'd say they put a bigger battery in it because that's where that thing's seriously lacking. Nice little bike, but not a lot of gumption. Sorry, I'm not showing you the. I'm really bad at this. That's the suspension you want for your Roadrunner Pro. If show a motorcycle with it, absolutely not going to work on a full-size motorcycle. Wow. Maybe if you've been saving and you like live in Nigeria and this is your upgrade. No, this is definitely not going to hold up a full motorcycle. But it'll do on a Roadrunner Pro. It'll do very nicely, actually. 280 or 320. Weird, the 320 is cheaper, even though it has more. I think they had a version of these things out for a while that had a progressive spring, and I don't know where it went. I can't find it anymore. I remember looking, but it's gone. If you can find the progressive spring one, that would be better. Let's see here. Okay, sweet. Thank you, brother. You're welcome, Marcus. Your video said 290. Well, that's probably because that's what the stock suspension was. I had no idea that you could fit like, what, 9,000 or whatever you fit. This is false advertising right here. Adjustable nitrogen reservoir pressure. No, I don't think that's full of anything because I took it off of mine and I put it back on because I thought it was full of fluid at first. Nothing in there. It's just an empty can. The little arm that connects this little reservoir to the actual suspension, that's just a solid piece of aluminum. There's nothing going in there. Anyway, you can adjust the preload. So you got that going for you. The V3 has pedals and rear suspension. Pedals? Pedals? Are we talking about a pedal bike? Or are you talking about like they put flat pedals on the e-bike? The Roadrunner? That's a weird one. But about time they upgraded the rear suspension. Every single influencer they sent that bike to was like, ooh, rear suspension, maybe not so great. And it just makes you realize, like, did anyone actually ride the bike before they put it into mass production? I'd put money on that they didn't. Or they had one guy ride it in China who it was his prerogative to tell him it was good so they could sell him. Ride it, and then he was like, oh, it's very good, and then they sold it, and then that was that. I don't think anyone actually flew over there to ride it and actually QC the thing. But here we are on V3. We're getting the upgrades that should have come with the original one, just like unicycles. Man, unicycles are bad. They will just throw out any trash into production and then watch on social media what breaks and what people are complaining about, and they'll come out with like the version 2, the version 3, and then they'll have the Pro and then the Pro Plus versions. There's a new unicycle coming out like every 2 months. Crazy. I'm really ending the stream now. This is it. Last time. I'm not going to ask if you have any more questions. You had your chance. 22 people still in the chat, though. That's pretty impressive, you guys. Before I go, make sure to click the like button, please. If you like watching me blabber on with very minimal sleep about weird things like bushings and brakes and hanging out and chatting with the ginger on no wheels today, then like the stream. Like the stream. That will help a lot. When I publish the video, the algorithm will be like, wow, this guy's actually kind of popular in some weird niche. Maybe we should boost him in the For You feed of other people. And that, my friends, is how we get subscribers. There will be a Pro V2 as well. I'm not even going to read that. I'm going to pretend I didn't read that, Terpy. I'll believe you. You got to talk about it next week on the next live stream. I'm going to start coming out with a more regular schedule for streams with like actual talking points, so I'm not just yammering on over here, feeling awkward when I don't talk. But until then, have fun riding your scooters. Go visit pevoutlet.com. Buy one of my firelights. Go buy the suspension upgrade kit if you've got a GT Wolf or a GT Pro or a Wolf King or a Wolf Warrior 11 Plus. Very popular. I'm going to go make some suspension kits, have lunch, and then probably sleep for like 15 hours straight. And then when I'm done, I'm going to watch this live stream and I'm going to go, oh, that quality was so bad. And then hopefully next stream will be better. It's just going to get better. Remy, I didn't hear from you the entire time until I got to go, but Nice to hear from you. Goodbye, sirs. Loads of China factories work like that. We're customers or testers. Yeah, we're the alpha testers. I'm like the alpha tester. Customers are the beta testers because I get it before the customers. It's brutal. Not really, though. It's kind of fun. Here I am riding a scooter for the first time. I remember that day when we very first got the GTR. Good times. Okay, ending the stream of perfect timing at the same time this video ends. I'm really ending it this time. I don't know what to say. I'm just going to say goodbye. This feels really weird all the time because you guys are still typing, but I'm done. I got to do stuff. Love you all. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for liking.